The soft glow of dusk painted the sky in hues of orange and purple. As the final rays of sunlight peeked through the clouds, it was the kind of evening that promised a comfortable quietude, a perfect backdrop for a peaceful life. Inside a cozy cottage nestled amidst rolling hills, an elderly gentleman named Arthur sat by his window, sipping a cup of tea. His eyes, though dimmed with age, held a clarity that spoke of a mind still sharp and active. As he gazed out at the landscape, a faint smile touched his lips, a smile born out of contentment and a life well lived. But peace, as we all know, is a fickle visitor. It can linger for a while, but eventually it takes its leave, leaving us to deal with the echoes of our past. Arthur's tranquility was shattered by the insistent pounding at his door. Startled, he set down his teacup, his hand trembling slightly, and shuffled towards the entrance. Who could it be at this hour, he wondered. He opened the door to find a young woman standing in the fading light. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her shoulders shaking slightly as if burdened by a heavy sorrow. "Can I help you?" Arthur asked, his voice raspy with age. "Mr. Hawthorne," the woman began, her voice catching slightly. "My name is Emily. I'm here because of your granddaughter, Sophie." The mention of Sophie tightened the knot in Arthur's chest. He knew this visit wouldn't be an easy one. "Come in, child," he said, stepping aside to let her enter. "Let's go into the kitchen. You can tell me what's happened there." In the warmth of the kitchen, surrounded by the aroma of brewing tea, Emily finally spoke, her words tumbling out in a rush. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Hawthorne. I don't mean to intrude, but I had nowhere else to turn. My grandmother, your daughter, well, she passed away this morning." Arthur felt the floor beneath him crumble. His daughter, Clara, had been battling cancer for quite some time now, but it never ceased to hurt to hear it spoken aloud. "When did this happen?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Just a few minutes ago," Emily replied, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I wanted to tell you myself." She paused, then added, "She asked me to give you this." Emily reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, intricately carved wooden box. Trembling hands accepted it, his gaze fixed on the box as if finding strength in its familiar weight. Slowly, as if afraid to break the silence, he opened the box. Nestled inside was a silver locket. Carefully lifted it out, tracing the engravings on its surface. It was a beautiful piece, no doubt a family heirloom. But for Arthur, it was more than just a trinket. It was a symbol of a bond that death itself could not sever. He looked up to see Emily watching him intently. "Your sister," Arthur began, his voice thick with emotion. "She always did have a thing for sentimental things." A watery smile touched Emily's lips. "Indeed she did. And she loved you very much despite all the fights you two had." A wave of sadness washed over him. Yes, he and his sister had fought, often over trivial matters, misunderstandings that now seemed foolish. And in the end, it was pride that kept them apart. "I should have visited her more often," he murmured, more to himself than anyone else. Emily placed a comforting hand on his arm. "Don't blame yourself, Mr. Hawthorne. She knew you cared." She paused. "Actually, there's something else. Your granddaughter, Sophie, she mentioned you a lot. She asked me to give you this." Emily reached out and handed him a drawing. It was a picture of a house, stick figures waving in front of it, and the words for Grandpa scrawled beneath. His granddaughter remembered him. A sob escaped his lips, and he clutched the drawing to his chest, as if shielding it with his body. All those years of estrangement, all the times he wished he could see his family, they vanished in the face of this simple gesture of affection. In that moment, he knew he had to make things right, not just for himself, but for his granddaughter, whose innocence knew no bounds. "Emily," he said, his voice filled with newfound resolve, "I want to see your room. Show me where your grandmother lived, where she spent her last moments." Emily led him upstairs, her steps echoing in the silent house. Each step Arthur took reverberated with memories of laughter, of life, and of a love that had endured despite distance. As he stood in Clara's room, he felt an overwhelming sense of loss, but also a renewed determination. He would honor his daughter's memory by cherishing the living pieces of her, by embracing the family she had given him. That day, Arthur made a decision. He would open up his home and his heart to Emily and Sophie. They would become his family now, and he would ensure that Clara's spirit continued to live on in the echo of their laughter, in the shared meals, and in the love that bound them together. Life, he knew, was unpredictable. It could shift and change in an instant. And so he cherished every moment, every smile, every hug, knowing that these were the threads that wove the tapestry of their new life together. Over the following weeks, Arthur settled into this new rhythm of life. He enjoyed watching Sophie run around the house, her infectious laughter echoing through the halls. He marveled at Emily's quiet strength and resilience. And together, they reminisced about Clara, sharing stories that brought both tears and smiles to their eyes. He listened to Emily's plans for the future, her dreams and aspirations, and encouraged her to pursue them, reminding her of her grandmother's indomitable spirit. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the room, Arthur sat with Sophie, helping her with her homework. He watched as she struggled with a math problem, her brow furrowed in concentration. Suddenly, she looked up, her eyes shining with understanding. "Grandpa," she said, "you know what? I think I get it now." A surge of pride swelled within him. He might be old, he thought, but there was still so much to teach, so much to share. In mentoring Sophie, he found a new purpose, a way to connect with the world that transcended his years. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, Arthur realized that life had come full circle. He was no longer just an old man living in a quiet cottage. He was part of a vibrant family, bound together by love, resilience, and memories. He had found peace, not in the quiet solitude of his old life, but in the joyful chaos of a family reunited. Looking at Sophie, her hair now braided and neat, and seeing Emily, a budding young woman ready to take on the world, he knew that Clara would have been proud. In their laughter, in their struggles, in their triumphs, he saw the legacy of his daughter, legacy that would continue to grow, to evolve, but most importantly, to thrive. He had found happiness, not in the fading embers of his past, but in the bright, promising future that lay ahead. A future he would walk into hand in hand with his granddaughter and the daughter he never got to raise.